keep authority to point at people so we can get some questions going on if someone has an interesting idea. But this is probably going to be not too different from if it happened in the lobby outside. For now that we don't have the table, I'd actually love to have everyone introduce yourselves and talk about who you are, name pronouns, and since this is a role-playing diaspora group, yeah, I'm going to use the word group now. What's the one place outside of role-playing that you have some expertise in? Because this is all about taking role-playing and bringing it somewhere else. Hey, if you got more. For example, I'm Marshall Bradshaw, he, him. I am a theater critic down in DC. I'm really interested in mixing role-playing and theater.
I'm Steve Vick from Wisconsin. I use EM. And outside of larp things, I work at a nonprofit housing provider, and I also, two of them, and I also live in a nonprofit housing cooperative and work with other ones. And so that's been a lot of my last 5 years of my life has been housing law, housing cooperatives.
I'm Vincent Baker. I publish tabletop role-playing games, design publishing, and I'm into sex ed and food history.
Hi, I'm Kate Friedman, and my pronouns are they, them, or they. And I am an academic librarian, and I am also an academic historian. So I am particularly interested in using role-playing in the higher education classroom.
Hi, I'm Ben Weil, and my pronouns are they, them, their. I design games, and I also have some practice and expertise in the realms of math and community organizing and political organizing, as well as business process redesign and continuous process improvement.
Hi, I'm Jay. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a queer game designer and staff at the Finder Experience, and I study art history, specifically through the lens of how people see the world, and how they historically see the world, and how they look at art, and how that connects to what we can do.
Hi, I'm Dave Matthews. I use Peabody pronouns, and I know a lot about folk music and sound.
Here, Vincent. I'm here, Vincent. I'm from Catholic University in Greece. I'm professor at Arts and Science Department, and I mix RPG techniques of designing great objects with space experience.
That's great. I'm here. I'm a player for years and I'm involved in playing the theater.
Morningstar, I make tabletop and live action role-playing games with local games. And I'm super interested in history and modern measure.
Hi, I'm Gary Cade. Let's see. Yeah, I actually work for
and I am an elementary school teacher, so I've spread a lot of
I'm l.p.lade. I'm a community coordinator, and I'm working on my own about service industry regulars around the bar work.
Hello, I'm Caroline Murphy, she, her, or they, them, not picky. I am, so I, game designer, obviously. I teach at Northeastern University in the games department. I run a production company called Meandros Productions, which makes immersive theater productions. Run LARPs, obviously, and write a lot of LARPs. And when I'm not doing all that, I have a full-time job as a marketer.
And for this event, we had a pretty big list of different times where role-playing affects other disciplines, including therapy, computer-assisted gaming, as opposed to non-electronic gaming, children's make-believe, and when we are role-playing without even knowing it, which is something that I'd love to dig into at some point. But I think one of the most important things that we can get out of this is something that you mentioned as something that you're really interested in, Caroline, which is how to get two different communities to play well together.
Yeah.
You have some experience bringing a bunch of different groups of people together, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we explore that?
Sure, certainly. Communities that I feel like I have done a decent job at bringing together. I run a nonprofit called Boston Fang, and we are a indie games forward kind of outfit. So our mission statement is to support and enable people who are designing games from all different walks of life, no matter what. And I think that one of the most important things that we did when establishing Boston Fang was push really, really hard on topics of diversity and accessibility. So we kind of built that into our founding principles of the company. We said that we would always keep the ticket prices extremely low. Like ticket prices are something that's like $15, and it's been $15 since the entire inception of the conference. Children 12 and under are free. We push really hard to be diverse and inclusive in our staffing and how we go about, and it's volunteer staffing, but we still really care about that and try to make sure that that's represented. And in the kinds of games that we have represented as well. So I think that when it comes to bringing communities together, allowing there to be space for different people with different walks of life to show up and be a part of it is really important.
And this is kind of, right now, keeping it within other gamers.
Yeah, or like groups that are interested in having access to doing that kind of thing, but don't necessarily, what we think of as democratized tools have not actually been democratized. They've been democratized to a subset of people who already have access. But ensuring that people get access who don't already have that is also a pretty big part of it.
And does anyone else have experience, like, I'm actually interested in pulling up Jason's experience within the health field, of actually bringing gaming to people who don't have as much experience with gaming.
Well, I think that's a misnomer because pretty much everybody has experience with gaming at this point, right? And I was like, for example, I was working with nursing students, and they're gamers. I mean, they understand how games work. They understand the reward systems. They understand competition, cooperation. They're playing free-to-play games on their phones. They're playing Xboxes at home. Like they're gamers. There's no question. And in that case, it's just bringing game-like activities into a discipline where it's unexpected or unusual, and their eyes just light up. They're thrilled to engage with that. And I think that's probably true across the demographic spectrum. If you find the right way to orient to the activity, people know how to play and people want to play.
Though this is, I think, yeah, join the circle. Who are you?
My name's Bill White.
Hi, Bill.
What are your pronouns, Bill?
He, him.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a college professor.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bill didn't know each other very well. Then I sort of threw that back in your face.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
Can I give you another example that's not directly related to me, but I think is really interesting?
Absolutely.
I was recently in Olympia, Washington, and running some of my games. What did you hear there, man?
It was fantastic.
And the community there, for whatever reason, it is very progressive and very open. And I ran some of my games on a Wednesday night, and people who showed up were a very eclectic mix. And they were not what I would have expected. There were some senior citizens, there were some young people, some guy brought his mom. You know, like it was a really interesting mix of people who were just genuinely curious about the experience and didn't have any preconceptions about it. They just knew that this was happening in town and that they wanted to experience it. Along with some people who either in their work or were gamers, so it was a mix, but it was a very permissive mix that had to do with the local culture and the local culture of play. And there was one attendee who I was a little concerned about, just because of her demeanor and sort of her attitude. And I think
I'm counting you off.
oh, okay.
Okay.
And I approached the organizer and said, "Is this going to be through?" He said, "Well, it has to be through order because that's how we roll. I mean, that's how our community works. If she's interested in being here, then this is a welcome place for her." And it was great. It worked out just fine. And it was very much on me because my culture of play and interaction immediately saw that as a threat to everybody's experience, and their culture of play and interaction was like, we'll make it work. You know what I mean? Like it was, and obviously their version is much more positive than us. But it was I think it was a really good example of inclusion and of sort of community ethos, bringing lots of different people together.
I'm curious about how those cultures of play develop. And also kind of the thesis of this event. The role-playing diaspora makes it sound like we are the source of role-playing and it is flowing from us. But you know, some of the examples that were in the description, things like children playing make-believe, no, I'm pretty sure they started it.
Yeah.
And you know, people doing therapy and things like that. Like this is, and those things create the culture of play. I wonder if you want to explore the description of that. Did you write that or were you just drafted for it?
I was drafted for, hey, we need another panel and we want you to propose a thing. I don't have a thing that I'm an expert in that I want to tell other people about, but we have a lot of people who do a wide variety of LARP, from, like I said, therapy, make-believe, educational, any LARP, trainings, all sorts of different things. And I'd love to get them in a room together to talk about how those things differ from one another and how they can contribute. Like what can you know, theater LARP learn from tabletop, and what can tabletop learn from any LARP, what can any LARP learn from therapy, and all those sharings. And so I wrote a description that included lots of things that I would consider role-playing. And other people contributed to the description, and they broadened it even more, and they included the diaspora, the intellectual diaspora continued farther. So please don't hold me entirely responsible for every word in there. But yeah, one of these I experienced in conversations at like Intercon and other events where I met people from different LARP communities, was that a lot of them also use role-playing in other parts of their lives as well. And they bring that knowledge into their LARPs, and they bring their LARP knowledge out into their careers and hobbies. And so that was the genesis of, hey, let's have this conversation.
For me personally, I developed all of my self-confidence from LARPing. You know, like I was not a very self-confident person until I started role-playing, and playing characters were very confident. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretending to be that way. That means it must be possible. So for me, that was a revelation. And I think that a lot of people through role-play find those things inside themselves. So, yeah.
I completed my current experience, as mentioned, which was a summer camp based around some community building hard work about at this point almost like 30 years ago. And what makes it sort of really weird and out there, especially coming to a conference like this, is that we didn't come from the LARP tradition at all. We were started because there was like this hippie community who like loved, going out in the woods and hanging out. They're like, we should be doing something about this. Let's dress as elves. And then all of a sudden, then they started role playing, and then they started writing plots, and they started like realizing they would be doing things certain ways, and then all of a sudden it was fun. And so it's really interesting coming here, and then like sort of like being introduced to this larger world and seeing the like the ways these cultures have developed and the languages they use, and how like role playing is something that feels very intrinsic to like the way people relate to each other, and like always to me it feels much more like it's community building activities rather than like it's like friendship forming rather than like a game for art's sake, or like a game to like for purposes of like enacting it. It's like always like from my perspective it's always been about like just like the community. The community is the thing you're building. The larp is justification for like the role in the game.
We're just going to ask you a follow-up question to that. What is the experience like of coming in and finding these people who have all this shared language? Like, what's that like?
At some points it's been really enjoyable because there's a lot of language that we've all figured out. Like at the same time, like maybe we end up picking up like de-rolling or like character development or all things that are like familiar to us. But then also like there's a lot of concepts which are just like completely foreign to how we think about games, because we're doing games for children, and so a lot of things that like adults prioritize or want in games are things that just haven't occurred to us. Like bleed is a phrase that was used very heavily this morning that I still don't fully know what it means, because it's just thrown around a lot. It's like, and then you bleed, and it's like, I'm like, what? But your character, it's just like it's not something that we ever developed a vocabulary for or interested in vocabulary for. So it's very interesting to see like all the ways we have in common of similar goals, and then all the things that are just from these different experiences.
So as a person who grew up working with the Adventure Game Theater, which is the early reform of the LARP that become the Wayfinder experience, it has been really interesting for me to encounter LARP as an adult in these other communities. For example, up in Oregon, where I've sort of got back into LARP after some time away. And encountering things like bleed as a concept, and you're like, okay, yes, that's a thing that happens. Yeah, we got the award for it. Cool. But also, I would say it's really interesting, in the concept of diaspora. This roundtable is extensively about to watch as I get involved in emergency responder communities. I'm a first responder. I serve on the emergency system, or with our training organizations around the city where I live on emergency preparedness. And those are groups that rely heavily on scenario-based training exercises, which is basically learning, right? As a way of developing skills and competency and capacity to respond.
Question, I think, Steve, you had said you were interested in thinking about the ways that some of these activities can sort of cross-pollinate. And I was thinking about something that occurs in the work that I do with sort of simulation and agile training. It's very different, and I'm especially interested in what you think about this. But everybody can certainly chime in. So like when I'm running these exercises for student nurses, one of the best benchmarks of engagement for me is cheating. When they cheat, I'm really happy. Because ultimately the outcome is irrelevant. We want to get them a certain set of skills and a certain set of knowledge, and we set it up in a quasi-competitive way. So they're competing in diets against each other. Naturally, that's going to be an outcome from these very competitive young people. That makes me think about LARP for fun, or even tabletop play, where that is like inevitable, right? You don't even think about that. Nobody's going to cheat, right? But so why is that? What's the?
Some people play Peabody.
I'm interested in hearing about that, and then I want to hear about the game where that's totally
So
So I'm not gonna, like, I don't think that's cool. But I was hanging out with Luke Crane and Tor, and we were at the roller derby game that Tor coaches. And they were talking about fouls. And Tor told the story about the time when the players came up and said, Tor, did you see I did great? I didn't get any fouls. And he said, go out and play harder. and this idea of, this is something I've been thinking about a lot, and just take I is this idea that there are the rules and then there are the rules and then there are the rules, right? There are the rules and then there's pushing rule and then there's fouls and then there's the penalty box. Right. And how would you do that in tabletop? Yeah. Really interesting. I was going to say, I used to I was technical support and continuing medical support. And the best days were the days when there was a mass casualty. Role-play, so, you know, you walk by and there's a person with the bones sticking around their arm talking through.
Pat reminds me of a topic of conversation that was really important for the immersive theater and LARP panel that I was just on, which is when you mix these two disciplines, theater and role-playing, you wind up with a lot of people who aren't sure what the rules are anymore. Exactly what fun they're trying to achieve and what they can get away with. And all of a sudden, some people think like, oh, that's part of the game, is trying to push these rules and go past where they should be.
That's so toxic, right?
Yeah. But I'm curious, as we have this diaspora, as we like try to make things, gamify things, have more role-playing, how we teach people the rules and the social norms required to make that still safe.
I think that's incumbent on creators to be clear about what your intention for interactive styles of play are. I think it's if the goal is emergent play, which I think is a perfectly legit, especially in immersive theater, a perfectly legit style people can design around. Then I think that it's in the game description. It should be like, this game encourages forms of emergent play, so that people feel comfortable trying to go outside of those rules and trying to like push and see what's going on. That's something that I think that there's this perceived concept of fairness, and that is. And fairness is really hard because it means that we're making a judgment about somebody's actions and the reason behind their actions, and instead of focusing on our own needs and wants, we're focusing on the thing that someone else is getting that I'm not getting. It's not fair. Whereas I actually may be very satisfied with my experience. Maybe I went to this immersive production so that I could drink wine and watch people dance. Maybe that's satisfying to me. And someone else participating at a different level, I don't care. I'm actually, my needs are met, I'm fine. But when they were like, oh, well, that person like got this cool thing that I didn't get, and it's not fair. Like we're putting a lot of like judgment onto that I think is problematic, and I think something that can be combated by clear statements of intention in a designer's description.
So I would like to follow on that and follow on what you said with an example about where I think that the LARP community would have been really helpful if they were in on the design process of this, right? So I went to Sleep No More, which is the most famous immersive theater experience. Sorry, I mean, I think it is.
Yeah, I'd argue so.
More or less. And
we'll get it one day.
And the rules that they set down at the beginning of the experience were it's Macbeth, and basically, but it's like Macbeth transplanted to like the late 19th century with no talking, just dance. And you, as an audience member, are following around like characters that are, just going about their play business. in this giant warehouse, and you're wearing, so as an audience member, you are asked to put on this mask, and you are told, like, when the mask is on, here are the ways that you can behave. When the mask is on, you are essentially a ghost. You are in the character, right? They've never used the word character, but then there's this thing that they don't tell you about that is sometimes actors will like take you aside for like an individual play, because normally you're like with a group of people, and I had that happen to me, and the first thing that the actor did, he pulled me into a bathroom. This guy who was like much taller than me, he pulled me into a bathroom, and he took off my mask. And that was the point at which I was like, no. And he was like, okay, and just put my mask back on. And like, that is the sort of thing where like, they needed to like consult art designers to figure out like what are good safety mechanics for if you are going to be in this immersive theatrical experience, because I don't think that they were thinking about that at all. Anyway.
Carol was talking about people who do things and it's not fair or anything. I think a lot of gameplay outside of RPG up to that point from a certain age to much age is competition based. There is one winner. You're all competing against each other, all teams against each other like that. So when you get to that environment where that's what games are. When you come to something like RPG, like I see the tabletop, there's always that one person who's like, no, I want to get all the things, and all the things like that. So, yeah, what's your character background? Okay, I want to get all the things, and that's the privacy you're playing. Usually that's what games are. And so as we take a bit to go out of that, I think that's what part of it is.
I think sometimes it's critically unsatisfying to be in competition with someone, and no one feels good about it, and recognizing when that happens. I was watching Critical Role last night for like a hot minute, and two of the women players, just for funsies, got into a brawl. But then it became really serious really fast, and they both stopped having fun really fast when their characters started actually damaging each other, and then it became about winning. And then you could see that both of them were no longer having fun, and then the GM lost control of the situation. No one was happy. Everybody was miserable, and then it was just like, this was supposed to be like a fun bar brawl. Why couldn't you guys just role play out what happened? Why did you have to start actually, ripping each other apart? So yeah, I think it's one of the design doesn't sort of fit the needs. And that's something that I think is something that designers, especially LARP designers, need to think much more critically about. Because I think we have a lot of LARP systems that we have set up currently that are not serving the needs of what people want.
Yeah, I want to follow on what Kate said, because at the end of what you're saying, a perfect transition to what I was thinking of is LARPs are games, we create game systems, whether that be numeric or purely text and social, and there are rules, whether they be explicit or sort of implicit in a lightly written all-text game. But then, much more, I think more recently, there's been a development of safety documents and safety rules and rules of behavior. And to me, I think that we're narrowing in on what is good cheating and what is not good. Not like pull you in a bathroom and take your mask off, not good breaking the fourth wall.
And you can totally say there are ways up front to say this is a thing that could happen to you. And as long as you say it up front, if that's the expectation going in, then people are going to be like, oh, this is part of it, rather than is this person going to assault me in this bathroom?
Right. And so there could be something that's outside the rules as they were initially presented to you, which is you are here as a ghost, you follow around in groups, and you have a mask on, and as long as your mask's on, you're a other things might happen, and the way to stop them is to put your mask back on, or any number of ways it could have been handled better, obviously. But I think, you know, cheating is going outside of the rules that you think you're operating under. If it's encouraged to go outside those rules, which is often just thinking outside the box.
Well, is that gaming the system or is that cheating? What's the difference?
Right. Well, and then is it okay? To what extent is it okay for people to do that? I think the next stopping point is your safety rules, and somewhere in between there is there's playing in the game and there's playing the game, and that's the side of like really serious engagement is that I'm going to think outside the box and do things that were unexpected by the designers, maybe to the point that someone would call it cheating.
There's a really interesting article on sort of this on playwriting. I feel like it applies really strong to a lot of work, which is the idea that it's talking about sort of like, there's a period of time when you're talking about, well, what's, like, if we're looking at the art of what a play is, we want to, like, find the art in the play, it's probably in the script, and that the play is acting out the script, and that's the art. But really, the script is an art, and then each iteration of the play is a separate art, wholly unrelated to the script, and like it's just tangentially referenced. We're just like a play is just like, oh, we're thinking about the script when we do the play. And I feel like that's kind of how role-playing works. Is that like when you write down rules, you're just like presenting a piece of art that's like, hey, look at this rule book I wrote. And then people are going to take it and they're going to play something completely different that just happens to have a resemblance to your rule book or like your game instructions. And I feel like so in that case we almost generate these two sets of rules. We've got these rules that we allow to be disconnected, like, you know, like if I want to, like, you could take like Dungeons and Dragons and just, you know, home rule it and hack it until it just doesn't resemble Dungeons and Dragons anymore. And you might still say you're playing it because there's a part of that heritage, but like, you're doing something totally different with it. But we can still consider Dungeons and Dragons because it's got this set of meta rules about the behavior around the table. It's got the culture of the play. And so, like, I feel like that's the same way. We've got these like rules that we're very comfortable bending. With like, you know, like, I'm just going to completely change how this game works to make it fit what I want, or I'm just going to, you know, break these rules to have more fun. And then we've got these social rules that determine how we relate to each other that we don't want to break because that's dangerous. So like those sort of, and like they get like intertwined and mashed up sometimes when it's like, I become invested in winning and all of a sudden the game rules become social rules because now they're dictating how I defeat you as a person. So I feel like that's kind of a really interesting angle there.
I think we have Dan in the middle.
I just want to respond to something that Michael and Caroline was saying about, and this goes back to the work on Kate, about competitiveness and the way in which people get into a competitive mindset in play. Both in larp and in other things that people we might recognize as larp, but which people don't think of as larp. And I think there's a lot that we can all learn by looking closely at the introductory mechanics used by the Wayfinder experiments, where they take 12 to 18-year-old kids and in the course of a few days train them in improv and collaborative storytelling such that before the end of the week, a bunch of kids, some of whom have never done this before, are creating a collaborative story, like dying well as the peak of collaborative storytelling experience, and then going and getting a new character and coming back and doing it again, right? Like this is an incredible thing that happens now multiple times every summer, in New York. And with the off-season, there's a lot that happens. Like, it's not a thing that is necessarily. I think the competitive mindset to which you refer is a thing that we teach people to do in our society at a very early age. But it is training people out of play. I think that Wayfinder is one of the places where people sort of relearn play.
I was really interested in Jason's comment about cheating, like conversations occurring around that. It reminds me of, I don't know how many of you read Bernard Suit's book, The Grasshopper Games, Life in Utopia, right? And he talks about two ways of playing it wrong. He says there's cheating, right, where you break the rules in order to win, and there's the spoil sport where you don't care, right? You don't care about the rules, and so you're destroying other people's fun by not caring about the objective of the game. Right? So the notion of competition versus sort of thing that you're talking about, collaborative storytelling, right? Becomes the idea of okay, what's the point of the game? What's the object of the game? And different communities in play create different conventions or different standards for what's the point of this activity, this game. And that reminded me of my friend Mr. Vincent, who's a Finnish game scholar. His dissertation talks about information play, right, as being one of the ways in which we sort of judge others' play, right? And what he means by that is like the difference between using in-character knowledge or the position different between play, about using in-character versus using out-of-character knowledge, right? What's legitimate, right? So you can be playing wrong by metagaming in some communities or by some standards and not in others, right? And so I'm just reminded of all of that in this conversation about the different ways of playing and the ways of playing wrong. So that notion of information play, right? What's the stance on metagaming and characters, character, as being sort of contributor to judgments that people make about, well, this is wrong play. This is not the way to play right.
Well, I think we have Kate next in line, and who else?
I was going to kind of turn the topic a little bit, so if you have
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm really enjoying designing games, role-playing games, that you can win and lose. Like, I'm really enjoying, having grown up on in role-playing games, there are no winners and losers. To say, in my game, Murder's Ghosts, if you escape from Murder's Ghosts, you win, and if the ghost is free, you lose. And I've been really enjoying that kind of very concrete, specific competition, very valid competitions. We do know what it's like to win and lose a game. We can let that direct our role playing.
You've rediscovered playing to win.
Can I clarify, as a group or individually, the group wins or the individual wins or loses?
It's a two-player game. So if the ghosts murder you, I win, and then if you escape, you win.
You wanted to kind of...
Yeah, I was just wondering if the educators in the group could speak to instructional design and larp design and how that influences or doesn't influence your...
Sure. You mean how one might
use instructional design to create LARPs and how one might use LARP techniques to create cool educational experiences or effective educational experiences.
I'll tell you what I do, and then your question even gave me such an obvious idea that I probably should have been using for the past 6 years. I start with it's much like lesson planning and human planning. I start with my education aim in mind, the standards I'm supposed to teach. Sometimes I teach things that I'm not supposed to teach, meaning that it's not in my standards of learning, but I see a need for it. But anyway, I start with these standards or learning objectives, and then I brainstorm some themes or stories, situations or settings that might be interesting and engaging for kids. And then I create characters and decide, am I going to make the characters or can I co-create them, or am I going to guide the kids to do it themselves? And are they going to play their own individual character, or are they not ready for that? They're going to play a stereotypical character. So none of that really is necessary when you're doing regular lesson or unit planning, except that when I start with my learning objectives, I'm thinking of activities that we're going to be doing in order to learn. So that's kind of similar. Maybe a debate, and I'm doing the same kind of planning whether I'm planning this debate that's very educational and and then I'm putting in, if it's an activity, there's tasks, resources, texts, and things they're going to do with them, and the same thing when I'm planning work. And after that, I'll need, I'm going to debrief or reflect upon the learning, whether it's a regular lesson or whether it's a role-playing game, which I was looking for reflection, which also allows me to assess service. So I guess they're really analogous steps. I can show you this actual typed out, if you want me to just bring it on the screen while the chat continues. But the thing that I don't do, which is good lesson planning, is backwards planning with, oh, here's my outcome I want. So I'm going to plan the game so that happens. Like, I don't care what happens, like you can improv and do whatever you want in the game, as long as the outcome means you learn such and such. Right? Because sometimes I think, oh, if I have a rambunctious group that just does whatever they want all the time, they're hard to manage, I like bombard them with game mechanics and rules to like squash what they can do so it doesn't get out of hand. And maybe if I backwards planned and said, well, I don't really care what happens, and no one's going to come in the door and watch the chaos anyway, but as long as I get them here, maybe they can have a little bit more.
No, I kind of push back against that because I feel like it's not a game if you know the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a game if the teacher knows the end, or it's not a game if the players know the end.
Well, I feel like there's not a wager if it has one set ending. For it to actually be a wager.
But maybe ending's the wrong word. Like, I don't care what happens at the end of the
It could be a pretty good game, which
Well, so I think.
I don't care what happens at the end of the story. I care that when they're done, they understand why Americans 200 years ago were successful with us.
Right.
Yes.
Or I understand
Okay.
the conflict
That
between
makes
the different people.
That's, yeah, like.
I don't care what happens, like, in their westward expansion, but just that they have an understanding of why things unfold the way they
And
do.
designing for a certain education.
Right.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited to squash me at another point. Or right now.
Can I say one other thing about kids?
Oh,
Yes.
always.
I had that question about, or that's in your paragraph you wrote about this, and I'm learning from like kids invent content, and we just squash it from them as they grow up. This will sound creepy if I just say it, so I'm going to couch it. I teach LARPing as an art form in this creative after-school program a couple days a week to 3rd through 6th graders. And so there's recess and snack time before that, and we're with all groups of kids. And I have done some playing with 4-year-olds on the playground, which is why I just didn't want to say it. And I was essentially LARPing with them. I was a dragon, and they were knights, some protecting me, some trying to kill me or wound me. And I started just wanting to play with them and pay attention to what they were doing as a LARP writer. I'm a LARP writer. And be like, what mechanics are they actually doing as role players, as 4-year-old role players? And the thing that I noticed and held on to was that like when I'm playing with you and you're the knight and I'm the dragon and you wounded me, I wasn't really adept at following the story and knowing what to do next. So they helped me along and were like, well, now you're not wounded anymore, so come follow me. So they like step out of role and narrate the story. Like 4-year-olds are doing this all the time. Like even when I play with them with like toys, they're like, no, you can't use that one and that one does this. So it makes sense to them and they all follow along, but when an adult is playing with them, I think they do it with each other too. But they're really stepping in and out of role all the time. And so I started designing using that and the superhero villain LARP I designed for these 4th and 5th graders, and there was a remote and a square of blue tape. And if we weren't sure what was going to happen next in the stories. Anyone could just grab the remote and pause you, and we had to go in the square and like decide what might happen next. And then pause. And that came from a 4-year-old. So I think like watching what they do is like, you know, good game design.
You might have also experienced this, but I feel like, I don't know, having worked with kids for so long and then starting to work with adults, I feel like kids just absolutely get it just so much better. And like, the people that, like, it's just like, I feel like working with adults, it's like, there's like, and I find this within myself, like I just feel like when I'm role-playing, I've got this like cognitive barrier I have to like work to overcome, and this like separation and subdivision I built in myself. And then when I work with kids, like I remember being a kid and doing this, and it's just like it's all just this fluid existence. It's like they're just it's just so natural that what it means to be a kid is to pretend. Whereas like I feel like with adults, it's like it's this thing we have to constantly like reminding ourselves to make space for ourselves.
Or we do pretend a lot, just sort of already years-long established roles that we do in our day-to-day lives. I mean, I'm real committed to playing office coordinator when I go to my job as the office coordinator, right? And maybe I've lost flexibility.
I mean, I've been role-playing as an education consultant for the past 3 months, and now my supervisor just had a baby last night, so I'm the sub-project manager of the educational coaches working with principals and their school teams for school design. And I'm an elementary school teacher and know a lot of things about teaching and learning, but I am aware that I'm on these coaching calls with this principal who wants to make these big changes in the school, and I'm doing a lot of working.
Yeah, but it's higher stakes.
Yeah.
Because we don't get to just de-roll at the end of the call.
You have to larp it until you make it.
The thing that jumped out at me, one of the phrases in the description of this panel was like, we're LARPing and we're going, and now we're LARPing, which is I think what we started to touch on and think about like masculinity, right?
Tell me about it. Yeah, well, as a door guy and bartender and someone in the bar scene, there's a lot of demonstrate that you're this person. Demonstrate that you're, when I'm kicking people out, if you know me, I'm a teddy bear. I'm like, I don't ever want to fight anyone. They shouldn't know that necessarily. But it comes to like, I am demonstratively this person in this situation. And it's totally LARPing. It's totally, I am this person in this situation.
It's interesting that for all these examples of being an adult, trying to gain a new role or just do a good job, being threatening for safety's purpose, they're all playing to win. Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's other ways, like cultures of play within that realm. So you go and then Michael again.
So you talked with me about this a lot. My method of getting people out of the bar is to role play their dad.
Oh.
Or I'm just like, I'm sorry, you can't be here anymore. Would you like to get your card, or do you want to come back for tomorrow? Like, I'm on their side, I'm their buddy, I'm their dad, I'm disappointed in them, but they have to leave. So
you
like,
have to change role like in the middle of the
yeah. Sometimes if they get really aggressive at me,
then who do you
I become even bigger.
Michael, what were you thinking?
And then I let them out of the situation. And so I'm cooperating with them to get them out of the bar safely.
It's like judo, you're de-escalating.
Yeah, it's a lot of de-escalating, and also just like giving them an honorable out is the game. And that's something we win together. I win when they get out safely. They win when they get out safely.
Excellent. That's cooperative storytelling. Cool for the story you want. What are you thinking?
In LARP role-play is part of life, but a lot of times they're not called or referred to or natural in the office board, like that. So active. LARP/role-playing, let one person in the room. For instance, if a 12-year-old kid decides that his parents are on his phone, just turn up his portable stereo and leap from couch to chair to chair to couch with a tennis racket or thinking he's insert him with his rock icon. That's role-playing. Even if there's no one else home, then, if there is, you get to know that later, but that's role-playing. And then years later, this wonderful video game capitalizes on that called Rock Band. It's like, this is kind of what we did anyway when we were trying to work through the house. We're just going to help you do it.
So we talked a bit about sort of like things that are larp and role-play that we don't immediately think of as they are. I've been thinking a lot about that one really interesting role-playing game meant for 0 people. I don't know who named it, but it's the bacterial colony where you put like papers and dice and pencils in a room. You close the door, and when you open the door, the game has ended. But there's no one in the room, and the idea is the game is happening independent of any players. And I definitely think that's a role-playing game, but I also think it's unlike anything we're talking about here. And I'm really wondering, and I just want to get your thoughts. Where does the role-playing game happen? Because if role-playing is the thing that we do, is it that we are role-playing the game is happening, or is the game role-playing independent of us? Like,
are you going to have multiple rules during that?
I'm not sure.
In the context of that game, I can give my interpretation.
Could someone explain a little more to me what that game is? I don't think I get it.
It's like a tragedy of some sort of GJ or something.
Yes, the idea is there is a planet that has life on it, but as soon as human explorers land on it, they accidentally extinguish that life. So you set up all the things for a game that could have happened. You have dice, you have paper, you have pencils, you close the door, and it stays untouched. And it's all potential until you destroy the thing. And you throw a pencil.
And then, so extraordinary status.
So then you open the door, and you clean it all up, and you're done.
Right.
You open the door and you're done. And then you need to clean it up.
It's a game or a thought experiment or science fiction literature.
I don't understand why
That's not a
it's
game.
0 players. The person who set it up is the player.
The point it's trying to make is how there are things and experiences that are not for us that are outside of our experience. It's not for all us. That's what it's about. And so it was actually nominated for the science fiction literature.
Oh, right, that's how it came
about. Yeah.
So I think that the game of setting up the room, leaving, coming back, and then cleaning up after, that is a game for 1 player, or more.
Yeah, the game is when you open the door.
Right. The game in the room is a game for 0 players.
Right.
I just wonder, because I feel like when we talk about role-playing, it's the thing we do, it's like, we're always talking about role-playing as being I don't know, there's object-oriented ontology, which is this idea in heavy theory that we can tell stories from perspectives of things that aren't human at all, and that a chair can have a narrative that is not at all connected to how we understand narratives. And so I'm just thinking about it as can role-playing happen independent of us? Can an AI, if I set up an AI played Dwarf Fortress forever, is the AI role-playing? Is the tragedy, is the room role-playing? And where's the role-playing?
After. Vincent, you too,
Vincent then Bill, right?
Yeah, I know Vincent.
So, I recently win, let's say, an argument on the internet. Great. Okay. So I designed a game called The Vengeful Demon of the Brain, which is a game for 2 players and an unwitting player. And so we are playing, and we know we're playing. And Bill, we have cast as the genie of the brain, right? And so our goal is to get Bill
to agree to do us favors that have the same initials as our wishes. So if I wish for life everlasting, I might say, hey, would you pass me the last item? And if Bill gets annoyed, we interpret that as the demon of the ring getting annoyed and destroying us. The demon's like, enough with your, and wiping us out with existence. But if Bill does three favors for us, then we have to do a favor for Bill that has the initials GF and give you your free. I'm never telling you. What was this called again? The Vengeful Demon of the Ring.
Okay.
And I won the argument and made enemies.
Good job. No, but the thing about this game, which I haven't encountered, just based on the description of it, reminds me of Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. Right? So
I know.
Okay. So anyway, it's it's basically a set of stories, right, about different cities, and the frame is that Marco Polo has been telling Kubla Khan about the cities that he's visited on his journeys, with different sort of exotic details. But then at the end, you realize or you discover that they actually haven't been talking at all. They've just been having imaginary conversations, or they've just because they didn't speak each other's language, so these conversations never actually took place, but might have prospectively taken place. Somebody help me who's read it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that. Right?
It's not the idea that the cities don't exist because they're not actual cities. So Marco Polo's imagining them, and so we get that revelation, and then we further get the revelation that the conversations were entirely the imagination of Marco Polo and Kubla Khan, and that what actually the book is saying is like just sort of like this conversation that they weren't having because they weren't able to, but maybe it's the conversation they could have. But maybe that's just how Kubla Khan imagined the conversation was. Maybe that's what Kubla Khan imagined he was talking about.
And it continues to iterate on the idea in the way that the stories are presented, in ways that invalidate the stories and then revalidate the stories in different ways.
So I was reminded of that, right? This sort of like imaginary game, right? And so you mentioned object-oriented ontology, right? Which takes it down a slightly different tack, right? Which is the idea that the mind of the observer doesn't matter at all. It's this game, like it gets us to ask, well, to what extent is the game its components, right? And that role-playing. Is there a story there, right? But I'm struck by the idea that you close the door, you open the door, and then there's all these potential games that Italo Calvino has.
I want to do Kate and Vincent.
Two things. Kat Jones at the Benchular conference yesterday gave a really good talk on feminist theory and games, and particularly the philosophy of what's her name? Anyway, she has this theory of world traveling, which is that idea of like thinking that you are, traveling somewhere when you really aren't. So that's like another sort of piece of this. I forget the name. Anyway, and then the other thing is code switching. That is like definitely, I think people, they are different people in different circumstances, and particularly if they are from a community that is marginalized.
You still have your idea?
I was just gonna say, so from one point of view, Bill is role-playing in the Vengeful Demon of the Ring, and from another point of view, he isn't. And my argument is that those both exist, and we can look at it from both of those points of view and get insight into whatever it is. Hence, I think the games are exactly what we're presented to. Consent.
I can see where the images of it is.
I think that game thinkers are less playful than they want to be.
itself, a fun fact about me is that Marshall was nowhere in my legal name, and I took it from like somewhere in my family in sophomore year of college. And being able to become Marshall Bradshaw was a reboot on one's personality. I know I've told you, Jason, the idea of I find LARP as self-punk. You can explore identities, and I find positively amazing when you can find the things that you want to keep. I was talking to someone who brought a character's costume into their regular rotation. And when they wear that costume piece, they are more that person, which is kind of getting into LARP until you make it.
I definitely do that. That experience resonates with me. I feel like, and I'm sure that this experience is probably common to a lot of people who role play, who are deeply empathetic people in general. But I find that when I take on a character and seriously commit to the portrayal of that character, that I eventually find that there was something that that character had to teach me. And I don't always know what it is when I start the character, but I come to it at some point and it changes something for me in an impactful, meaningful way. And I often will keep like a token piece of jewelry or something from that character, and I'll have that and I'll wear it sometimes and remind myself of what that part of me is that I found.
And that resonated with you too, is that right?
Yeah, Nathan Black is the much cooler version of Nathan Regan.
I was gonna say, I looked down like, oh, I need to remember that guy's name so I can call on him. Nathan Black. Jesus, that's a name. That's
Morningstar, right? Yeah. Not an
But it's still really cool.
What was that switch like going to Nathan Black?
It happened so long ago on like a VBS forum, and stopped. And I do feel like a different person than Nathan Regan. That Nathan Regan has so many family connections with a part of my family that I'm not connected to. And Nathan Black just resonates with the way I portray myself.
That resonates with me. I'm still David Bradshaw when I'm at a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Which is kind of it's almost like the person who was David Bradshaw died and was replaced with Marshall Bradshaw, except for the fact that he keeps on coming back for endless doctor's appointments and filling out tax forms. That is his hell now, doctor's appointments and taxes. Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, what we're talking about games as a way of looking at ourselves, therapy was one of the things that you had written down in the blurb for this, right?
Yeah.
I'm super interested in that, mostly because I'm currently living in a residential therapeutic place, working on paralyzed anxiety. I'm playing a lot of games. Got a mentalizing group once a week. It's kind of become board games. Where we play, like, we get in each other's heads and in our own heads by playing Dixit or Codenames or Colorbook Dictionary, stuff like that. And I just really was interested in why you included that and what people's thoughts are.
So I'm not an expert in it. It's a thing I'm aware of, and I know that clinical psychologists use in therapy sessions is various kinds of role play. Either, and do we have any experts, psychologists in the room? Then maybe I'll give a really short what I was thinking of, and you can say the real thing. And that can be either like a purely mental construct of okay, and like. You're sitting in a stereotypical therapy session and the therapists will say, well, imagine you. And you do. You just imagine you. So it would be, I know visualization is one. If you get really nervous going up and knocking on doors, but you need to, visualize yourself knocking on the door confidently and the person opening it and being happy to see you. If you keep visualizing that, you will feel better about knocking on doors. If you're unfortunate enough to have that as a job or something you have to do, right? It's And then there are much larger versions that people use in group and family and couples therapy, where people behave as another person in the group. You know, what if you were your spouse and this happened? How would you react? And then the person plays it out. And one of the big ideas in that is to develop empathy for the other role's position, whoever that other person is. And another one of them is to expand what you see as your options in a situation. Because a lot of times a person feels like their options are only things they're used to doing as themselves.
Yeah.
And another person might be more free to do a wider variety of different things. So be the other person for a while, and then mentally open up those other possible options. And that's just a couple of methods I've heard about or read about or experienced. And I don't.
Yeah, I think one of the techniques that's often used in a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy is like mirroring and self-reflection. And I think that role play is an amazing example of that put into practice and how that can be used in order to come up with really momentous discoveries, self-discoveries.
I don't have a degree from psychology, but I spent 2 years in an advanced training program with a couple of PhD psychologists and board-certified advanced movement therapists who were pioneers in somatic psychotherapy. I would echo what you just said. You said, I refer back to something you said about discovering confidence in yourself. There are, if you're interested in this field, I'd suggest checking out drama group therapy, playback theater, theater of the oppressed, which are all tools that have been developed around witnessing our stories and being present with other people witnessing our stories as a way to create healing, especially around traumatic experiences. I would, if you're interested in a LARP form of this explicitly designed as a LARP, I created one for the Golden Cobra in 2015. Hear Me Now is a storytelling dance game to create empathy among players, and in which an individual player tells a story of a time when they experienced their perspective being ignored or overrun, and others present through interpretive dance express what they're hearing in the story and allow the storyteller to witness themselves being witnessed. And then they're offered an opportunity to retell the story with different choices being made along the way, if they wish to, which is a technique for healing trauma by creating new, different stories about the same experience.
Jason, and then I'll take it back.
I just wanted to comment that I think that was like the angel. Or in general, like role-playing diaspora in general is a way to try and new identities in a safe environment, and it's probably not a coincidence or accident that most communities are power fans.
Yeah.